Good afternoon and welcome back to TVP World. My name is Alex Simlinsky and these are the latest updates in the world news. We begin this hour with news that Ukraine is reportedly ready to sign a minerals deal with the U.S. as early as today. Sources close to the matter revealed to Bloomberg. According to the informer who spoke anonymously, the draft agreement to create a joint fund managing Ukraine's investment projects has been finalized. The agreement stipulates that the U.S. and Ukraine will seek to create conditions to increase investment in mining, energy, and related technologies in Ukraine. Washington has agreed that only future military assistance it may provide to Ukraine following the signing of the deal would count toward its contribution to the fund. Previously, the White House demanded that the aid delivered to Ukraine under the Biden administration was also considered as U.S. contribution to the fund. In another breakthrough, the U.S. acknowledged that Kyiv requires the deal to not interfere with its plans of joining the EU. The next step in the Ukraine-Russia peace negotiations will be determined by the behavior of Ukraine's European allies, says Ian Brzezinski, senior fellow of the Atlantic Council. Speaking to TVP correspondent Sasha Farbach on the sidelines of the Three Seas Initiative summit in Warsaw, Brzezinski said that U.S. President Donald Trump doesn't really believe that the Europeans are committed to defending Ukraine and needs to be convinced to leverage U.S. power to convince Putin to cease his aggression of Ukraine.
I think the next step will really be driven by what the Europeans do. Will they start leveraging the power they have, not only to put pressure on Putin, but also to shape the American perspective? Right now, the problem that we have in Europe, if I could say that, is that Trump doesn't really believe the Europeans are committed to defending Ukraine. I think he sees it as half-hearted. So I'm taking my hat off to President Macron and Prime Minister Starmer for trying to kind of devise a European approach, the core being perhaps some sort of peacekeeping or deterrent force. I think the larger and more robust that force is, the more likely it's going to encourage Trump to be a little bit more forward-leaning in the leveraging of transatlantic power to pressure Putin to cease his aggression against Ukraine.
One person is dead and dozens have been wounded in Ukraine, where a devastating drone attack by Russian forces struck Dnipro and Kharkiv on Wednesday. It damaged and destroyed civilian infrastructure, including residential homes.
My mother-in-law just came to stay with us yesterday. We live in another place. She came to visit and survived.
It's not clear what he died of. He was examined, he was lying there, there were no injuries, nothing. Maybe his heart broke. Poor guy.
Another neighbor, a younger one, pulled my neighbor out. Otherwise, he would have died in there. It's still burning, except for the metal. And because I was at home, I quickly ran out, opened the tap and poured water on the flames and put it out. Otherwise, everything else would have caught fire.
The drone flew over the house and then there was an explosion. We came out later and this house was on fire. The firefighters were putting everything out and the owner was standing under the cherry tree in his bathrobe. Our roof over the toilet is damaged. It's slate and it was lifted a little bit.
Fire. Everything was completely burning here. A car exploded in a neighbor's garage. It was probably a gas cylinder.
Poland has formally requested an exemption from European borrowing limits with the European Commission in order to maintain its defense spending levels. The national escape clause was put in place to allow members to exceed EU spending limits in order to invest in defense. Poland is only the second country in the bloc that has signaled it would make use of the national escape clause, along with Portugal. It allows countries to raise their defense spending by 1.5% over 4 years without any penalties if it takes countries above the 3% GDP deficit threshold. The European Commission hopes it will help boost EU defense investments by €650 billion. However, EU countries have so far proven to be skittish about increasing their debt. Germany's new government will introduce tougher border controls and limit asylum applications starting on May 6th. CDU's Thorsten Frey, the future Chancellery Minister, told the Funke Mediengruppe that anyone attempting to enter Germany illegally must expect to be stopped at the border starting with May 6th. The new measures will include intensified identity checks at German borders and the immediate rejection of individuals attempting to enter the country illegally. Tighter border policy will also include turning migrants away at the border, a practice known as refoulement. A central argument of the new government is that asylum seekers should apply for protection in the first EU country they enter, which according to Frey is almost never Germany. Andrzej Halicki, a member of the European Parliament and Poland's Civic Coalition, has been chosen as one of the 10 vice presidents of the European People's Party. This news comes after this week's EPP Congress in Valencia, Spain. Andrzej Halicki announced the news on his social media, also showcasing his 9 counterparts. Upon his selection, Halicki said that the decision to make him a vice president of the party was due to the EPP's appreciation of Poland and his work inside the party. The European People's Party is the largest party in the European Parliament, with Poles being the second largest national group inside the EPP, behind Germans. The U.S. administration is not too keen on imposing more pressure on Moscow, as it sees ties between the Kremlin and Beijing as already too deep, said our guest, geopolitics expert Velina Zaharova. She added, however, that the U.S. could impose further sanctions on Russia's energy and financial sectors.
I would not exclude the combined approach where the U.S. still can actually impose sanctions, for instance, on the energy or financial sector. And right now we know for a fact that the Russian economy is hurting because of the already imposed sanctions on behalf of the U.S. leadership, already starting with Biden administration, when it comes to LNG, when it comes to shadow fleet and so on. I don't see, honestly, a lot of niches for the U.S. administration to really impose a lot of pressure on Moscow right now, on the Kremlin. Why? Because the Kremlin is holding the Chinese cards. And basically, the fear on behalf of America is that this modus operandi between China and Russia is becoming far too deep.
And Spain is dealing with the knock-on effects of a major power outage that brought much of the country to a standstill on Monday. As a result of the incident, Madrid saw traffic lights switched off, metro services halted, and many businesses closed amid the chaos. The blackout, which also affected parts of Portugal, left thousands stranded as it disrupted digital payments and communications. Residents and tourists described scenes of confusion with long queues, transport delays, and candlelit dinners. Spain's national grid ruled out a cyber attack, but the government has launched a full investigation, the results of which are yet to be concluded. U.S. President Donald Trump marked his first 100 days in office with a rally in Warren, Michigan. Standing in front of cheering supporters, Trump claimed it was the most successful first 100 days of any Washington administration, despite the polls showing Americans growing dissatisfied with the economic turmoil caused by Trump's tariffs.
And we're here tonight in the heartland of our nation to celebrate the most successful first 100 days of any administration in the history of our country, and that's according to many, many people. And also, we cannot allow a handful of communist, radical left judges to obstruct the enforcement of our laws and assume the duties that belong solely to the President of the United States. Judges are trying to take away the power given to the president to keep our country safe, and it's not a good thing. We will cut more than $1 trillion in wasteful and unnecessary spending, and in the next fiscal year, it'll all be done. We're going to have something that you won't even believe. We will end inflation, slash prices. We've already ended inflation, raise wages, and give you the greatest economy in the history of the world.
And with that, we conclude this edition of the World News, but do stay tuned to TVP World for more news and features.